A very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Sports Tonight. This is the Monday night edition. It's also the fourth session of Sports Tonight for the week. Interestingly, the last edition of the show for March, but it's also the first one for the week. So we are happy to be here, of course, to do what we love to do best, which is to talk sports in an enjoyable manner, and of course, entertain you, inform you, update you with all that is going on around us and, of course, across the globe. My name is Toyin Ibitoye. Let me start the show by quickly introducing to you a very special guest that we have in the house, someone who is widely traveled, has followed the Super Eagles, has covered a lot of international football games, and we're happy to have him join us on Sports Tonight this Monday to talk about the Eagles, UEFA Champions League, and a whole lot on Sports Tonight this Monday. Let me introduce to you Ayo Odumade. He's been on Channels TV before, the morning show, but this is the first time he's coming on Sports Tonight. Ayo, we're happy to have you on the show this night.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure we are going to have a swell time on the show. And of course, that man on the far right is on cloud 9. You know the reason why. His club have gone back on top of the log, and he believes that that's where they're going to stay until the last day. Tunde Koiki, welcome to Sports Tonight.
Thank you very much.
I don't need to ask
Thank you.
if I'm
also widely traveled, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Within Nigeria and Lagos City.
I don't need to ask you if you had a swell weekend or not. It's obvious.
Well, it started slowly, actually, but I mean,
everything fell into place for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chelsea lost on Saturday, City drew, Arsenal drew. Everything just fell into place.
Like I said, it started a bit slowly the weekend, but after that game with Tottenham at Anfield, everything just went through the roof. So you could say that I've had a brilliant weekend, yeah.
All right, but let's start off on this note. Tell you that we want you to be a part of what we're doing on the program tonight. We want you to talk to us. We want you to take advantage of our platforms. The way you connect with us on Sports Tonight is via Facebook and Twitter, and we want you to do that on the program tonight. Let's make this as interactive as possible. As we go along, we want you to travel this route together with us. So Facebook, Channels, iPhone Sports, if that is what is available to you, please go on and drop your comments. And if it is Twitter that you are very convenient with and is available to you wherever you are right now, Channels at Channels_sports, and my handle at Toyin Ibitoye is also very, very active. So tweet us at those handles on your screen, and please let us flow together. Let's make the show as enjoyable as we can make it on the program this Monday. So that's it. That's the setting. That's how we start off the show this Monday. Let me quickly come to you and ask. I mean, you've covered the EPL for so long, and you can, I mean, look at your crystal ball and pick who is going to emerge champions at the end of it all. Are you seeing Liverpool?
If only it was that simple. I think Liverpool, with one or two provisos, provided they can beat Chelsea and Manchester City at Anfield, it is important that they win both games. If they win both games, I have no doubt my arch rivals, because I'm a Manchester United fan, Liverpool will be champions.
If you look at the table quite well, City have outstanding games to play. I think it's their title to lose.
Not really. Not from where I'm sitting. Outstanding games don't mean anything. Lots of things can happen. Players could lose form. Players could get injured. Players could be suspended. Liverpool have the points in the bag. That is ramping up pressure. Just as you saw at the weekend when Chelsea, had it all to do. They talked the talk, but they couldn't walk the walk. They went to Crystal Palace. Mr. Tony Pulis, Mr. The man who gets people out of jail. He's never been relegated in his life. Set up his team in such a way that Chelsea found it very difficult. And in the end, Mourinho had to come out and say his team lacked the passion and desire which the Crystal Palace team showed, and which, took them over the line with the crucial 3 points.
We're going to talk about Champions League later on, but the distraction of the UEFA Champions League, I mean, is also key. But for City, no distractions. They are out of the FA Cup. They have the Capital One Cup in the bag. They are only focused on the league. That should count for something.
But Liverpool don't have any distractions.
The same with Liverpool.
They went in Europe. And I believe one of the two of them will probably win it now. I'm not saying Chelsea are out of the picture, but as Jose Mourinho said, they need snookers, which means they need they need the other teams they need other results to go their way.
What we do the best in Nigeria when we are in qualifying series for tournaments, and we do our mathematics and hope that one draws, another one wins away.
The problem that Mourinho has though is against the top teams, Mourinho's good. But unlike his previous spell in the Premiership, against the bottom teams, Mourinho seems to struggle. He lost to Southampton. No, not Southampton. Lost to Everton. Lost to Crystal Palace. Lost to Stoke City.
Aston Villa.
Lost to Aston Villa and lost to Everton. All away from home. The only thing still, which still seems to keep them in the picture is that home form, which should have gone when they played West Brom. They got a dodgy penalty when Ramirez, dived, so to speak.
All right, we'll talk more about that later on, maybe towards the end of this segment, because we will start, of course, by talking about all of these. And then later on, we have a little bit of table tennis for you on the show. We have wrestling on the show because it's really looking good for Nigerian wrestlers. They did well at the Senior African Championship in Tunisia. We'll talk about it. Formula One also on the menu tonight. And of course, on Monday, we'll give you plenty of review around the Globe Premier League, the Nigerian National League, the Nationwide League, and all things domestic around Nigerian football. But let's come to Brazil very quickly. Tunde, what's going on? Brazil will be ready today, will not be ready tomorrow. Now it's a battle to get hooligans off the slums and to, all kinds of military trainings are going on. Painting the picture of what could be at the World Cup.
I've talked to people who live in Brazil. I've talked to former Nigerian international Richard Owubokiri. He says that Brazil is absolutely safe. And Brazil is no different from any other place that he has lived, whether Portugal, whether England or Nigeria, that you just have to know exactly where to go and at the right time. I've also talked to Tim Vickery, who has lived in Brazil for over 20 years, and he also maintains that, Brazil does have societal problems. They maybe more often than, maybe a bit more than other countries that you'd expect. And I think it is only prudent that the Brazilian government prepare for the worst case scenario. They are not doing anything different from what England did during the Olympics or what South Africa did during the last World Cup. It is just, in England we had they had missile battery systems on some prominent buildings in London to forestall terrorist attacks. So there's nothing that the Brazilian government is doing that is out of place that any prudent government would not do in order to improve or ramp up security around a major international tournament that will see millions of visitors from all over the world, and also high-profile players from different countries. So what they are trying to do is to show what we call in Nigeria a show of force. To show how ready we are, to give the criminals, the undesirable elements, as they were, give them a second thought about trying anything underhand during the World Cup. But that will not stop the fact that there might be protests during the World Cup, like they were during the Confederations Cup. A lot of people are still disillusioned about how much has gone into preparing Brazil for this World Cup. But the Brazilian government has shown that they have the capacity to police the tournament properly, and that is what they are showing.
Let's move away from the politics of events outside of the football pitch. Let's talk about the football itself now. As we build up to the World Cup, let's look at our country, Nigeria. What do you see? You've covered a lot of international games, and we can rely on your judgment. What are you seeing? Our build-up, the body language of the coach, our key players, the Nigerian Football Federation. What are you seeing at the 2014 World Cup in Brazil? I
think our coach, Stephen Keshi, who happens to be a hero of mine, is cool, calm, collected, personified. He's handling the situation as well as he can handle it. He's not giving much away. I think the main problem, which has been a constant cancer in Nigerian football, like any other sport, is the administration. The administration and the administration. It is called organized chaos. Some of it's linked to corruption. Some of it just linked to maladministration. All it is just to frustrate this young man, to get him to resign, so that they can go and bring a foreign coach in, which would enable them to cream off money. We saw the situation with Glenn Hoddle when They wanted him to, you know, say that he's being paid 1.5 million when in fact he was getting something lower. But you see, the thing is, some people still have morals. Money is not everything to everybody. The man came out and spoke out and said, look, I was offered this and told to say this, and he said he's not going there. I find it very, very sad that, you know, it's like the biblical saying, a prophet doesn't have honor in his own home. When white coaches come here, they ask us, how high do you want to jump? We jump up very high. You've got a Nigerian coach in charge. Why can't charity begin at home? The man has delivered. He went to the Nations Cup. We were not expecting him to win anything. We just thought maybe a semi-final. The man said he's there to win it, and true to his word, he won the tournament. We went to the Confederations Cup, arguably short of some players. We didn't do too badly, you know. Maybe in the opening game against Tahiti, we could have scored more goals. But against Spain, I mean, come on, it's not a shame to lose 3-0 to the defending champions. Maybe against Uruguay, we probably should have got something out of the game. We didn't get something. But I think we're realizing now that there's sometimes there's a fine margin between success and failure. It could just be the one goal that makes the difference. But I believe Nigeria has as good as strike force and firepower as any nation that's going to this World Cup. My only worry is the game time some of them are getting or not getting.
I was going to come to that. Are you worried? I mean, you were also at the editors roundtable with Stephen Keshi, where he talked about Mikel, who had a fantastic tournament at the Confederations Cup, including this beautiful goal against Uruguay. We didn't have Moses at the Confederations Cup. These are key players who play key roles in the Eagles, not getting playing time. Moses got about 8 minutes yesterday for Liverpool. Do you see that affecting the Eagles as well?
Yes and no. Yes, because, you know, it means that maybe they might not necessarily be totally match fit, not getting, you know, enough game time. No, because many a times we've seen countries come to the World Cup, countries like England, who don't have a winter break, and by the time the players get there, they're shattered. We saw it in South Africa. Fabio Capello prepared the boys as best as he could, but they got there. They simply didn't have anything left in the tank. People like Wayne Rooney, who had been built up and hyped up so much, they had nothing left. So I mean, it's a bit of both. However, I would say a few years ago, the build up to the 2010 World Cup, before Shaibu was eventually sacked, I sat down with him in a one-to-one interview, and he said, "Look, it is what it is. It's not something new. Players will sit on the bench these days. I mean, the sport of football is a team game. It's called rotation." Only 11 players can play at one time. So sometimes players have to accept that, look, you will have a spell, you'll have a time when you have a spell out on the bench. We have this chap, Chicharito Hernandez, at Manchester United. He's been sitting on the bench as well, but yet he came on. The one thing about him, he reminds me very much of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. When he comes on, you know he will get a chance, which is what he did against Aston Villa at the weekend, and he scored. So Nigeria should be prepared for that as well. But what we must do, though, is, and I think Keshi is doing that, is to prepare the boys as best as possible. I think when he eventually names his squad, this final squad, those games in the build-up in Miami, which we're going to have, you know, warm weather training and all that, will be very, very crucial and help him to have a clear idea what his starting 11 will be in our first game against Iran.
How far do you see Nigeria? How far do you see the Eagles go at the World Cup? The quarterfinals?
In an ideal world, I mean, where everything has gone well, good build-up, good training, good everything.
And then I would say and the coach, you're working on the same page,
working on the same, singing out to the same on the same hymn sheet. I would say Nigeria probably has the potential to get to the semi-final, just like I think Ghana could get there as well, to the semi-finals.
All right, so that's what you feel. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that we'll work on the same page, not Keshi working on one side, the Federation working on another side, and both parties find it difficult to come together and work as a team. But let's hope that all of those will change as we count down to the World Cup. But let's talk very quickly about the Flying Eagles. I can see that a lot of your messages are coming through on Twitter. We'll come to them in a couple of minutes. But let's talk about the Flying Eagles. Manu Gaba was successful with the Under-17. And one thing that we saw of the Nigerian Football Federation and Manu Gaba was that he got a lot of games to prepare his team. And it looks like that will also happen with the Flying Eagles. Tunde,